Good morning, Ultimate Hustlers. It is that time of morning for the Cortez Hustle Show. And today we're talking building micro empires with Jennifer Grimson. And if there's anybody who can architect, who could build, who can design, and then teach you how to architect, build, and design your own micro empire, it is Jennifer. And you do not want to miss this episode. It's going down this morning. So I need you to do me a huge favor. I need you to comment in the chat where you're from, drop the name of your business or your brand, and smash that share button, ladies and gentlemen, because it's about to go down. Yo, what's up, Ultimate Hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show, the business podcast for the entrepreneur of the 21st century. And I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. Our goal is to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how the world's greatest hustlers build amazing brands, scale their businesses to incredible heights, sell more, make more, and create mass movements that impact the world. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned vet or you're sitting on the sidelines with aspirations to one day unleash your inner hustle. This show will provide the insights into how pure grit, determination, and hard work has morphed into some of the most iconic brands and personalities and how they are moving the culture forward. You'll get a mix of solo shows featuring yours truly, as well as interviews and content from other hustlers that I either know personally or I've learned from or whose grind I've come to know and respect. And you'll also get exclusive recordings from our membership called Monetize My Life Academy, which you can check out at monetizemylifeacademy.com. That's a program where we go live every month with some of the best hustlers on the planet, sharing best practices on how we all can explode our brands with advanced branding and marketing tactics, business development strategies, and financial game planning necessary to build the empires we all desire. Again, that's at monetizemylifeacademy.com. If you like today's episode, chances are the hustlers you're connected to will like it as well. Share it with those in your network, and when you do, use hashtag Cortez Hustle so I can see you and hopefully give you a shout out and share you in my stories. So check out today's episode and make sure you subscribe to the feed on your favorite podcasting networks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustle, also known as the one and only financial health mentor, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur from monetizemylifeacademy.com, where we help you build your digital marketing empire. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a business brand and you're trying to figure out the internet, you're trying to figure out social media, you're trying to figure out video marketing, all of those things that help you get your business and your brand to the next level, you need to check out monetizemylifeacademy.com. You can actually test drive the entire program for just $1 for your first month. And then if you like it, you can stick around. If you don't, then you can cancel it any time. Today, we're talking how to build micro empires with a very special guest I'm going to bring on in just a minute, Jennifer Grimson. I don't know why I keep messing up her name, but she is the architect and the designer of multiple micro empires herself. And she teaches people all over the world how to build micro empires. Couple quick announcements, really just one. For those of you who want to become a published author, I have 3 slots left in my Instant Authority Blueprints beta test, where we literally help you become a published author, write, publish, and launch your own wildly profitable book in the next 21 days. Even if you can't write or failed high school English like me, that doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen. You got a story and it needs to be told. Click the link in the description or in the show notes to book a call. Let's talk about your book project, and I will let you know honestly if I can help you or if I cannot. Plain and simple. So without further ado, man, I want to introduce you guys to this lovely young lady who I had the pleasure of meeting through another guest that was hanging out with the Cortez Hustle Show, Coach Hill. And when I learned about what she does in the terms of building micro empires, I told Coach Hill, I said, listen, I've got to get this lady on the show. Is she a morning person? Because I got to get her on the show. And she's like, I don't know, but you can ask her. And she connected us. And that allowed us to have a conversation via email. And I am so thrilled that you decided to join us this morning. So I'm going to present to some and introduce to others, Miss Jennifer Grimson.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. I am well. That was a great intro.
Awesome.
So much to say about that, but that was a great intro. Thank you.
Well, good. I am glad that you are here this morning. And before we get into who you are and your background and all of that stuff, I like to start the show with a quote of the day. And today I got a very, very powerful quote from a very powerful person, and it is as thus. And if you have a quote, you can share your quote or you can chime in on this one. But this quote says, "You don't have to be wealthy to build wealth." And I don't know if you've heard that somewhere before, but it's an amazing quote. And I think it is so rich and it hits home if people will just internalize that, because 80% of millionaires today are first generation wealthy, which means they were not wealthy when they started building wealth. So that quote of the day is from none other than Jennifer herself. So you want to chime in on that one, or do you want to hit us with another one?
Well, I'm so flattered. Wow. I mean, thank you so much. Yeah, I kept, when I started my show and just kind of wanted to get out there and start not just telling my story, but sharing, the steps and the tools that are available to anybody. That just kept running through my head. Like, you don't have to be wealthy to build wealth. I started from zero twice. And I'm still building. So I don't ever like to, make it sound like, oh, and I'm all done and I'm sitting on a beach somewhere drinking cocktails from, with little umbrellas. But yeah, you don't have to be wealthy to build wealth is absolutely true. And I agree with you. I don't think that most people actually believe that. They believe you have to have money to make money. I mean, you got to have some money. We all have to have some money, right?
Yeah.
But I did my building the second time with a W-2 and some grit. That's it. That's all I had.
Listen,
that's all I had.
It doesn't take much more than that. A little ingenuity, a little will, a little drive. And I get this all the time in the financial coaching world. People assuming that everybody who's got money came from money. And when I looked at the statistics, there are literally only 9% of people in the country that come from what we call old money, right? That are true trust fund babies, right? There's another 3 to 6% who are kind of hybrids, where they had a little bit of inheritance, maybe an insurance windfall or something like that. So they got their start. But 76% of today's millionaires are first generation wealthy. So that is the quote of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, brought to you by microempires.com, micro-empires.com. If you guys want a free copy of Jennifer's ebook where she teaches you how to take micro risks to build micro empires, then you, my friend, need to click on the link in the description and in the show notes, grab yourself a copy of that free ebook. So Jennifer, I ask everybody this when they come to the show: who the heck are you?
Oh my gosh. Well, that depends on the day. Today I'm a friend of Coach Hill, who recommended me for this show, which is hilarious because I know she was interviewed. It was 5 a.m. her time.
Yes.
So I am a mom. I'm a grandmother. I'm somebody who survived losing everything twice: no job, no car, no place to live, Chapter 13 bankruptcy twice, did that twice. And I'm somebody who rebuilt from really nothing. And I honestly, I don't think that I'm unique. I think it happens to a lot of people. And I've learned that through my show by sharing my story, which I kept a secret for a long time. I think the only difference is that I just decided that I was going to put a platform out there. And what makes me a little different maybe is that the age that it happened to me. A lot of people talk about rebuilding when they're 28, and that's cool. That's great. But when you're in your mid 40s and you're a mom, it's just a different kind of a story, or at least it was for me. So I'm a person, I think, who is still working down that path. And now I work with people directly to strategize around their own personal life plan and how to do that, because I I believe that micro empires applies to everybody, even if you have a 9 to 5 and that's all you have, it still can be a micro empire.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, and your whole story. Twice rebuilding. Can you talk real quick? Because one of the things that I'm big on now is that a lot of us need to rebuild, and it might be better if we initiate that process ourselves versus losing everything. Meaning, some of us have houses that we can't afford because we were keeping up with the Joneses. Some of us drive way too much car and that kind of stuff, and we're trying to build wealth, but we're not. I mean, I might need to give up some of those things. But talk about the negative stigma that sometimes comes with, hey man, this is where I am and I'm just going to rebuild from here. Did you have to face any internal or external shame from having to rebuild, especially the second time?
Yeah. Shame is a huge part of it. Anytime, I mean, me sharing my story is what has really touched the listeners that I have.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I just tell the entire story and what it is. My personal experience wasn't my need to overspend, but it was my personal decisions. It was relational mistakes, meaning I was in a marriage and then I was in a relationship where I let other people control my financial well-being. And then I was sued by an ex-husband repeatedly to the point that I was driven into bankruptcy.
Wow.
But I could argue that it doesn't really matter how you get there, even if it was that, well, I just spent the family's money, or I had gambling problems, or I bought the big house, or I had the Mercedes. For me, the first question I ask every guest is to tell me about their money culture. So I go back to money culture, how you grew up, what you believe about money, and then how it shaped you as you grew up, and how your relationship with money is today. And if you don't do that kind of work, if you can't understand, you know, I'm in thousands of dollars of credit card debt, and I can't pay my bills, but I'm driving a really nice car and carrying really nice purses. If you can't understand what's driving you there, then you'll never get out of it. So that is the first key. The first key to me is to sit down and really spend some time. And I have another book called You Don't Have to Be you don't have to be wealthy to build wealth, and it's free and it's on the website as well. It's a little more detail about how to go through these types of things and how to ask these questions to figure out why it is where you are. And that helps you pull back, you know, the layers of the onion to start saying, you know, I can do without these things. You really do have to get to a place where you do not care what other people think. And that is hard. And there are some folks that say, well, I can't do it. I can't give up. This makes me feel whole, having the beautiful car or the beautiful purse or whatever it is. And to that, I say, okay, then what can you give up? You know, for me, I can give up all that. I don't care about any of that. I don't want to give up travel. I don't want to give up opportunities to be with my family. Those mean more to me. And I am happy to shop at Walmart and to wear clothes from 10 years ago in order to make it happen if that's what I need to do. So that's really the question is, what is it feeding? Because it's all feeding something.
That's right.
And we do have a really upside down culture when it comes to money in this country. We're led to believe, you know, what the middle class is on television is wealthy. I mean, there is no family in a sitcom that is living in an average American home. They're living in a home that we all wish we could live in.
That's right.
And that is not how most of us live. It really isn't. And you're absolutely right about wealthy folks. And I do want to say this about self-made millionaires and the number of 78%. I thought it was actually higher. I used to be one of those people that had a huge chip on my shoulder and really resented people with money. And it wasn't until I realized that A, they were all self-made, and B, nearly all of them want to help you. They want to teach and they want to help. What they don't want to do is waste their time.
That's right.
So don't go asking them for stuff. Don't go asking them for coffee and for lunch and to pick your brain and all those things, and then don't do anything because it's really disrespectful. But if you want the tools or you want to figure it out, people who've done it are willing to teach you. And I'll tell you this: that none of them are not hard workers, because that doesn't happen.
That's right. That's right. And I really I like to say it like this. If you can't stand wealthy people, then you'll never be one of them, because your subconscious mind will never let you become that which you despise. Because that means you would have to hate yourself. So your subconscious is not going to let you get into that space at all. So that is huge that you said that. And even the term self-made, they got out of the mud, they did it, but nobody makes themselves into a millionaire, right? There's always a group of people and getting around the right environment, getting the right information, right? Talk about when you first started to rebuild that second time. Like, what was some of the first few steps where, like the GPS says, you have to tell me honestly where you are, right? Most people don't want to admit that. I'm trying to get from here to here, but I'm putting in a GPS and I'm up here. No, the GPS needs to know exactly where you are. So when you were able to admit, hey, this is exactly where I am, and I'm going to build from here, what were some of the first few steps that you took?
In my case, I knew where I was, but I know exactly what you're talking about because I work with people in this situation every day. And I will answer your question about what I did, but I call that phase opening the mail, because many of us, when we're in financial trouble, we stop taking phone calls, we stop opening our bills, we stop, thinking about it. We start hiding our credit card bills from our spouse. We do a lot of things, right? So some of it is just facing the music, like you said, just sitting down, and the tools to do that is easier said than done. One of the best things is just to get someone to do it with you. I've done it with people. I literally get on a call like this and we open their mail, or we look at what their situation is, whatever it is. In my case, because losing everything also included going in Chapter 13 bankruptcy, which ruins your credit for 10 years. I had to rebuild my credit. At the time, you couldn't really do that online. You had to write the letters and make the phone calls and do all the things. So it took me 3 years to rebuild that credit. And I detail in one of my episodes, I think it's episode 3, exactly how I did that. So and there's some tricks that I did back then, and there's tricks now that you can do that quickly kind of help you build credit, create credit. But a lot of it was being vulnerable. It was asking for help, asking for favors, like from my employer, et cetera. Having a job was very important. I don't think I could have rebuilt from zero without having a W-2. And I wasn't in a position to do that. I had to have insurance for my children. So not having a job was not an option. So I always had a job. But rebuilding my credit was absolutely the first thing. And then my entire goal was to land an equity acquiring asset, which most notably is usually real estate. And that was going to be my goal. And a lot of folks were like, be realistic. That'll never happen.
And good thing you did not listen, right? I think that is a huge mistake too, that a lot of us will make, is when we are down and trying to pick ourselves up, we mess around and get the wrong information from the wrong people, and we let that take root. I say all the time, I talk to people who want to become entrepreneurs, and I'm a full-time entrepreneur, and I kind of give you some steps, but then you go run it by your coworker, and you listen to the coworker about becoming an entrepreneur who's in the cubicle right next to you. So it's good that you didn't listen to the people who said it couldn't be done. Instead, you ask yourself, how could it be done? And working on that credit was huge. I think a lot of people are discounting the power in credit today. And I think a lot of people coming out of this pandemic are going to be really, when all of the stimulus money runs out and the unemployment money runs out and people have to go back to getting jobs, most people don't realize that employers check credit, right? And that's going to hurt a lot of people. So you got your credit in line, and I'm sure, what was the mental aspect of what did you do for yourself mentally to prepare yourself to do the work that was going to be required to getting the credit? Because it's not easy to just say, okay, I'm down, I'm going to fix my credit and I'm going to start doing everything right from this point on. I'm sure there were some things that you had to do mentally, mindset wise, to get into a space and say, you know what, I got to do this. Whatever it takes, I'm gonna stick to it. So what was that thought process?
Right. It's amazing what necessity does, though, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not driven just because of something I want. I'm driven by necessity. So, I knew that living in cash, which in this country is nearly impossible. So, I
Mm-hmm.
was a salesperson traveling, and I had to rent a car and get a hotel room and all those things. If you don't have a credit card, that's very hard to do,
Yeah.
nearly impossible. And
Yeah.
and it's probably completely impossible today. Back
Yeah.
then I could kind of finagle with my debit card or with my
Mm-hmm.
my secured credit card. What I did mentally really was something that it's interesting. I never put a name to it, but I was on a show recently. Mike C Rock, his name is C Rock, and
Mm-hmm.
he talks about rocket fuel. And he says every time someone said something bad to him or gave him a no or whatever, or the baggage
Mm-hmm.
that we talk about, carrying baggage in our trunks, he said, I just decided to convert all of that to fuel. And so,
Mm-hmm.
in a way, I started doing that every time. You got to get used to hearing no. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
get used to people telling you it can't be done, not believing in
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And you've got to get in the habit of going, thank you, and using that somehow to motivate you to keep going.
Yeah.
If I put a penny or a dime into what other people thought about me or my plans or my thoughts, I would never have gotten out of it. Not only gotten out of it, but then managed to build micro empires. I
Mm-hmm.
did in a way that people thought was crazy at the time. Um,
Yeah.
and now, they can't believe they waited so long to do the same thing that I did.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I just think that you have to have a strong belief in yourself. And
Yeah.
you were talking about the quote of the day earlier, and I'm really flattered that you quoted me, but today is World Suicide Prevention Day.
Mm.
And I do a Facebook Live this morning. I'm going to talk a little bit about it as well. But one thing, and this isn't somebody famous, but I say all the time, the most important thing I had to realize was not to abandon myself, and that I had to
Mm.
put on, there's a reason they tell us to put on our own oxygen mask first,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So part of we get caught up in, I got to rebuild, I got to build wealth, or I got to support whatever it is to provide for others, to care for others, to take care of what other people are thinking about you or
Mm-hmm.
talking about you. But the
Mm-hmm.
truth is, if you don't put on your own oxygen mask, you can't do anything about that, and you can't help
Yeah.
anybody. You can't
That's
do
right.
anything. So you really do have to put yourself first, in
Wow.
thought, in act, in everything.
I love it. Not abandoning yourself when the time where pretty much everybody else has abandoned you, probably outside of your parents, right? And it's easy to do in this society, man. It is, there's so much that will encourage you to give up subliminally without you realizing that you're even tuned into those types of frequencies. So we're
Right.
going to get into micro empires, guys, here in a second. But Jennifer, now it's time for a segment in the show that we call 1 Minute Motivation. I'm big on personal growth and self-development, and it being in a positive direction, right? A lot of people don't realize that everything you consume contributes to your personal growth.
Right.
The question
It's
is,
true.
are you growing in the right direction, right?
Mhm.
So I try to
Mhm.
make it positive on the show. So I'm gonna play a 1 minute clip, and I'm gonna ask you to comment or takeaway or two, and then I will give a takeaway or two. So let's get into 1 minute motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, the Jennifer Grimson version.
And as Mark Twain said, 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do. So if you don't take those steps, if you don't focus on those things, if you don't manifest what you want to become, if you don't believe in it, if you don't see how real it could be, if you can't picture the version of yourself that you want to become, and even though people have told you that it's not possible for you, that the things you did in the past are never going to allow you to do that you're not smart enough, if you let that creep into your mind, then that's what's going to happen. But if you can see that vision, if you can allow yourself to believe it, then you're going to take the steps that you need to execute against that. And if you go out there and do those things, you won't regret it, but you will regret it if you don't. So get out right now and build the person you want to be so you can have the life you want to have.
me. I don't know about you, Jennifer, but that did it for me this
I got chills. I got chills over that.
The guest. So one of the reasons I love doing this is because we all listened to the same clip, but we heard something different. So what did you hear?
Well, I think it's true. You know, to do the things that you will. It was a dichotomy for me, actually, because it gave me chills, and I believe in all of that. I believe in you want to look back and think, you know, I did it all. I lived a full life. But at the same time, a clip like that, because we live in the social media world, I get it and I believe in it. But I also believe that all of those things that he's talking about in that clip can be accomplished in your home, in your work, in your life, in your family.
Yeah.
You can be an amazing mother, an amazing father. You don't have to, you know, have a platform with millions of people following you to be a raging success in your life.
Yeah.
What you do have to do, though, is to just try to live as authentically as possible. And that's where we hide, right? So, you know, I mean, I'm a late in life everything. I'm late in life everything. I'm a late bloomer in everything. I mean, I got married finally after being single for 20 years at the age of 50. I mean, I never imagined that would happen. I became an artist just a few years ago. You know, I became a real estate investor. I became a podcaster a year ago. I mean, who would have known? I didn't know how to plug in a microphone. I still struggle to do that stuff. So, you know, I can't look back and go, God, I can't believe I didn't do this. At least I did it. I tried it.
That's right.
And I do believe that. But I also think there's a lot of pressure that it's normal to kind of have this Instagram life. And that there's nothing normal about that. There's even my Instagram. You go look at my Instagram, my Facebook. It's great. It's pretty. That is not my day to day. That is not reality.
Yeah.
So I think that's so anyway, those are my thoughts.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. The things you didn't do, I don't want that to haunt me. So I heard Les Brown say one time that he wants to live full and die empty. And that's kind of how it's like, I've got all of this music inside of me and I don't want any of it to die in me. I want to get it out and do the things that pop to my head, whether people agree, whether people like them, whether people think they're going to be amazing or not. That's part of fulfilling who I believe that I am called to be. Deborah Williams says, you must get up and move. You can't do it sitting on your butt, whatever it is you want to do. I love that, love that, love that. So that is 1 Minute Motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, brought to you by the Instant Authority Blueprint. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you guys all have a message. You all have a book inside of you, and I want to help you get it out, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to write, publish, and launch a book in as little as 21 days, even if you can't write, even if you hate writing, even if you failed high school English like me, it's okay. I've got a process in the program and I want to help you get that book out. Click on the link in the description or in the show notes and book a call. Let's talk about your book project and see if that's something that I can help you with. If I can, I'll make you an offer. If I can't, I will tell you and maybe point you to some other resources. So again, go to workwithcortez.com/publish to book a call today. So Jennifer.
Yes.
When did you, well, I got a question because that 1 minute motivation made me think about something because he talked about envisioning and picturing and seeing yourself. When you were at the beginning stages of the rebuilding process, did you see the Jennifer that you are today? Are you living that picture that you saw back then?
You know what? I could never have, you're going to make me cry this early in the morning. I could never have imagined that my life would be this beautiful.
Wow.
So, I wanted to get out of debt. I wanted to, not just out of debt, I wanted to stop being terrified monetarily. It was really money, money, money. And I hate to say that, but that's what it was. I was just trying to build out of that. I never could have imagined that my life could be this beautiful. So, my goodness, Cortez,
Hey, listen,
that
listen,
has not
listen.
happened really before. Um, but I will say this: I did believe in myself. I
Good.
believed that if all it was going to take was hard work, I knew how to
Hmm.
work hard. And I bet
Yeah.
every single one of your listeners know how to work hard. Anybody
Hmm.
with a job knows how to work. Anybody with a kid knows how to work hard.
That's right.
Um, so, I just knew that if that's all it took was working hard, well, I could do that. I could do
Yeah.
that 24/7. And
Hmm.
and really that is what I did. Um, but I don't think I had a big enough dream, to be honest. I
Yeah.
think I should have even dreamed bigger. In terms of the love and the life that I could create,
Hmm.
I I didn't even know I was building to wealth. I just thought I wanted to build out of chaos at first.
Yeah.
Like that
Gotcha.
first step was out of chaos. And then from there, once I got a handle on it, I was like, wait a minute, this is repeatable.
Hmm.
I can do this again
Hmm.
and again and again,
Hmm.
and I can
Yeah.
really build something.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Got to believe in yourself, even when no one else does.
Yeah.
And that's super, super important because if you don't believe it, right? There's a scripture in the Bible that says all things are possible for they that believe. And I like to tell my audience all the time, it didn't say all things are possible for the person who has a husband that believes. It didn't
Right.
say all things are possible for the person who has homeboys or homegirls that believe. No, there's only one person required to believe for you to make it happen. And thank goodness you believed in yourself. So that belief led you down the path of creating what you now coin as micro empire. So give our audience a quick definition of exactly what is a micro empire.
Well, micro empire can really be anything. But what happened the second time that I had to start rebuilding, once I rebuilt my credit and I was able to purchase a house.
Hmm.
Well, prior to that, I always had three streams of income. That had been kind of a rule for me. I talk about that
Hmm.
in an episode because I'd been a single mom. The kids were 1 and 3 when I became a single mom, and I
Hmm.
was their sole financial support. So
Yeah.
having one job probably wasn't going to be
Yeah.
enough to take
Yeah.
care of them. And I had good jobs. I mean, I had a corporate job, et cetera, but I just never relied on corporate America completely because I
Hmm.
knew that I could be let go at any time. And
Yeah.
some of the saddest things that I see are folks that truly believe that their good hard work and their loyalty to a company actually will translate to they will be loyal back. And the truth is the bottom line is the bottom
Oh,
line. And you
yeah.
can be let go at any time and they may love you and let you go.
Hmm.
So I always had other streams of income. But so I was always doing that. But once
Hmm.
I was able to secure the biggest step for me was to secure a piece of property, which I
Hmm.
did here in Nashville, Tennessee, and it was my home. And even getting that was a miracle. And I go
Nice.
to great detail about how I did that because people often, I think, in the industry that we're in, talk about what happened. They don't talk about how it happened, step
Yeah.
by step, how it happened. So I outline that kind of stuff. And then so once I had that asset, and the very first time I heard about Airbnb, I
Hmm.
was like,
Hmm.
what is that? I remember writing it down on a card and going home and researching it and
Hmm.
realizing that if I could put my house on Airbnb 6 nights a month, I could pay my mortgage.
Wow.
And I had a roommate at the time and I kicked her out and she was a friend. I was like, you got to go.
We got to
And
get these
you
coins.
get out. And I mean, I put my house on Airbnb and booked every weekend for 3 months out and realized, wow, I'm onto something.
Yeah.
And basically, I combined house hacking with Airbnb and
Yeah.
using my 401k, which is why it was really important to have a job at the time. I
Hmm.
borrowed from my 401k. I didn't cash out.
Right.
I borrowed, which people need to understand. You could do that without tax or penalty
Hmm. Hmm.
while you're at a job. And I borrowed the same $22,000 and I bought a house. I would buy a
Hmm.
house with 3% down
Right.
and I'd move in with my dog and my air mattress and
Hmm.
nothing else. and I would furnish the house, get it on Airbnb, pay myself back through my 401k with my W-2 job, borrow it again, buy another house, move in with my air mattress and my dog. You get the idea. So the idea was figuring out that there was a pattern that was repeatable. Now I say all that, none of that is sexy. I'm a single woman at the time. It's not really sexy or interesting to be and I was dating my husband, and he was like, "What address are you at tonight? Like, are you staying on someone's couch? Which house are you at? When I show up, what neighborhood will it be? Are there curtains on the windows?" And I didn't care what he thought even. And someone who loves you doesn't care either. They get your vision and they see your drive, and that's what they're more interested in. So, a lot of folks, when I start to really dig down about what they're willing to do to kind of change their circumstances, they don't want to be uncomfortable. And rule number one, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because if you want to change something, get ready to be uncomfortable.
That is a bar right there, because we want things to change, but at the same time, we want them to stay the same. Right. It's like, it doesn't work like that, right? You have to do something different if you want to experience something different. And you started with Airbnb and the house hacking, and boom. I'm glad you mentioned that about the 401k, because especially for us in the Black community, we still experience redlining, red taping, and that kind of thing. So access to capital could be discouraging. And a lot of us, that is the case. It's like, I'm not even going to try because I know I'm going to be turned down and that kind of stuff. But we have, if you're creative, and some of us do have the 401ks that we can borrow from, and we got access to capital where it doesn't require some of the traditional vehicles to get where we want to go. You just got to be creative. You got to have the will to do something, and you got to go out there and try, right? So I love that you stepped out, because even after bankruptcy the second time, it's like, you're not going to be able to get a house. And you're like, man, forget that. They're going to have to tell me no.
Right.
and they did.
And they did.
They told
right.
you.
Right.
Yeah. So good deal. Good deal. So that was kind of like your first entry into, wait a minute, I have this cash flowing asset and it's generating some revenue. I still got my W-2 job. I'm doing my thing. And now Myron Golden talks about getting away from the door, right? You're starting to get away from the door, like that chaos you were saying, where I'm just in this money place and I'm trying to get out of debt and get away from the bill collectors. And so now you're far enough away from the door. What are the moves you're trying to make now that you kind of got some peace in your life financially, or are you at that place yet?
Definitely at a place of peace. And I think that is so important, because, I mean, I know I'm sure you share the statistic that most Americans can't handle a $400 emergency. I probably had 3 $400 emergencies last month, and I'm so grateful that I can handle those and not have the chaos that brings, that it used to bring. So I definitely have some peace. So now I'm working with multifamily investing. I'm actually going to go back into short-term rental in a different market, probably, but never abandoning your skills. And I think this is really important. So I did leave my W-2 job in 2018 to pursue my other investment, channels. And I didn't know, but to do the podcast that I have and everything that I've built, but I didn't know I was going to do that. I had no idea. I did leave that. However, in this job market, and you made a point about people having to go back to work, et cetera, but there are incredible amount of jobs. I had a career as a salesperson. That's a very specific skill, and it's a good skill. I think everybody should be trained in sales, whether you like it or not, because we're all in sales in one way or another in our lives. So I recently was asked by a small kind of startup firm to use my skills to help get people into really high level jobs, which is what I've already done anyway. But why would I say no to opportunity? So I say yes to opportunity anytime I get it, and then I see if it fits. So my point being, let's say you're a person and you go ahead and you leave your job and you've started this other business or side hustle or whatever it is that you're going along and you're doing. I leave the door open for opportunities. I do consulting appointments that other companies contact me for the work that I did in my previous life. So in healthcare, in correctional health, in software sales, those sorts of things. Not in real estate. Those companies aren't necessarily calling me for real estate. And then I have my own business where I work with people where I do basically personalized life strategies as a whole, or career strategies, whatever it is. But on the nuts and bolts investing, multifamily, still using real estate, and then using other wealth building tools. I mean, the stock market, I'm open to all of it, anything that generates money. And every day you learn something new. That's the other thing that is surprising to me. Even if you have a financial advisor and you're listening, I guarantee you they don't know everything.
That's right.
If you have a great tax guy, I guarantee you they don't know everything. And whose responsibility is it to uncover it? Yours.
That's right.
So keep looking and don't and things and vehicles change. You got to keep looking because there's always more vehicles that you can use and more vehicles being created.
Love it.
So it's exhausting sometimes because I'm like, every day I'm like, how did I not know about this?
There's
how did I not know about
There's
that?
Something else. Right. Awesome. So we're talking micro empires with Jennifer Grimson, and we're going to continue that conversation because she's doing some other things in real estate and she's got some other interesting facts and things. So on the other side of this break, we're going to continue that conversation. But speaking of micro empires, this is my mentor, Brian Bean, and he's built a micro empire and he wants to help you do the same thing. So check it out.
Here's a question for you. Why are you letting another multi-billion-dollar industry and multi-million-dollar partnership pass you by? Think about it. You may have missed the dot-com era. You may have missed the age of the computer. You may have missed technology. But why are you going to miss another opportunity when you can get a small percentage of a billion-dollar pie and change your family's legacy? One thing I know for sure, opportunities are not missed. They're just passed to the next prepared person. My name is Brian N. Bean, founder of the Extra Digit Movement, and one of my business partners gave you this video for one reason. We're about to take the real estate industry and the financial industry by storm, period. Think about it. Everybody ultimately needs a place to stay. Now, I didn't buy this land and these 20 acres with our new partnership that we have with Making Wealth Real Financial. I was very, very blessed to turn $228 into $228,000 in just 8 short months. Making Wealth Real Financial did give me the 750 and above credit score. Making Wealth Real Financial did give me the cash to put in my pocket and close this deal and build my dream home on, guess what? 20 acres. Did I mention to you that we have credit restoration specialists? Did I mention to you that we have enrolled agents with the IRS to help you lower your taxes? Did I mention that we have debt elimination specialists as well? Did I mention that we have negotiators who will help you shred your bills and create positive cash flow? Imagine living the life of your dreams, fishing when you want to fish, building a house that you own. Imagine having business partners who care enough about you to share with you the power of our new multi-million-dollar real estate venture. And guess what? You don't have to be a sophisticated investor. You don't have to be an accredited investor. You don't have to be a real estate specialist. You don't have to be a real estate broker or agent to take advantage of our real estate joint venture partnership. Guess what? The average person now can buy, sell, flip, and invest in real estate without the risk and without the headaches because we have experts who do all the work. So whether you're ready to invest in real estate or not, take advantage of this opportunity in this short video by getting back with the person who introduced you and just say or text keyword soft intro. That lets us know that you're ready for a deeper dive into the next step to make wealth real for you and your family. Get back with the person who introduced you to the video, and I'll see you guys on step 2.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustle. That is my lovely guest, Jennifer Grimson from Micro Empires. Listen, we're talking about changing your life, constructing your life in a way that works for you. And one of the things that I heard you say on another podcast interview, you talked about diversification, and its truest sense. A lot of times people talk about diversifying in the stock market. Well, you're still investing in only one asset class, right? So that's not true diversification. But you, on the other hand, are truly diversified. Talk about how important that is to a micro empire structure.
Well, I think it's really important because the reason I built small, small empires was because I was terrified that, once again, I could get fired from a job or something else could happen and it all could fall in if I had everything in one place. So
and let's be clear, and not to cut you off, but you see your job as one of those micro empires. And I think a lot of people are so looking at their job the wrong way, but that's a micro empire. That's just not the only one, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. And I talk about that as well. Like your job. And I did once I made the decision, once I had my house and I was like, I am setting this goal that I'm not only just going to dig myself out, but I'm going to dig myself out to a point where I have a lot of, financial comfort. And you can make your 9-to-5 your micro empire. So, I think if you're going to show up, you need to show up. Don't be enjoyable to be employable, right? So make that job. You're there anyway, 40, 50, 60 hours a week. Be the very best that you can be at it. And that was kind of my goal, and to be very manageable for my boss. So that when they look across the board and they think, well, who are we going to let go, or who's too much trouble to deal with? It was never going to be me. Now, that to be said, lots of people hate their jobs, and I get it. But one time a very wise person said to me, what's wrong with a boring job? If it's boring, use that time to do something else. If you've got all this extra space in your head, great, do something. If you're miserable, we're in a great job market. Now is a great time to make a switch if that's what you need to do. But while you're there, perform. So that is one. And inside of real estate investors will say, well, I'm diversified. I have multifamily and I have trailer parks and I have storage units. And it's still one asset class. It's still real estate. So I do think it's smart to diversify. I think it's everything from definitely, if you can, real estate, because it just is not only the asset class, but the tax advantages of having real estate of any kind are so incredible. And if you aren't paired with a really savvy tax person who understands the benefits of real estate, you need to find one immediately. And then the stock market, because really the stock market, I'm not an investor. I don't day trade. I don't look at like what's performing really well. I kind of just do a flat line along the bottom of the stock market in funds that are investing in the entire stock market, because we've shown as a country that really that's investing in my belief in the country as a whole and the companies as a whole. And I do believe in that. But I think also opportunities that pay you in other ways than money. So if you can invest in something, and maybe it's not even investing with dollars, maybe you invest your time in something that gives you an education that you really want. Like you're following, you're mentoring, you're serving somebody who you want to learn from. Well, that's a free education. That's right. And you also need to look at some things. We often lament about money we've spent or money we've lost. I try to look at something anytime I spend money on something. Is it going to teach me something? Because if it is, then that's the same as going back to school. So those are just some ideas that I've had.
I love it. Well, we're at a point in the show that we do another segment called Freestyle, Jennifer, because I know you got bars. No, it's not about rhyming or rapping over a dope beat, but freestyle, as I'm building this media empire that will one day surpass Ted Turner and Walt Disney. I don't always ask the right questions. The conversation doesn't always go where it needs to go. So freestyle is a segment where you get to reiterate something that you feel is really important that needs to be reiterated. Or if we didn't get to something that you really want to get off your chest and that you really believe that will serve people well, take 90 seconds to 2 minutes and just hit them with your dopest freestyle.
Oh gosh. Well, I think that the most important thing for anybody listening, especially if they're struggling financially, is please don't struggle alone. And please know that what you are going through, it's likely that most people have gone through, and we tend to keep it a secret. Don't keep it a secret. Find someone and say it out loud. Get the help you need to open the mail, face the music, and get a plan together. That can be just a trusted friend who literally just sits with you while you face the music, while you walk through it. There is a great connection between depression and monetary aspects, especially for men, because men are, it's required, quote unquote, that they are the providers, whether that's true or not, and the stigma of what to create. So I think that the most important thing always is to not abandon yourself, and to know that if you are in a really dire situation right now, financially or otherwise, to please just reach out. That would be my thought.
I love it. I love it. I love it. One of the other things that you are really big on, and I want to get to this before I let you go, is mindset. And you talked about this blessed my spirit this morning. As I was listening to your podcast as I was working out this morning, you said, I made a conscious decision to get into the rooms where I wanted to learn. And even though for months it felt like they were talking a different language, because in all aspects they were, right, you kept going, you kept showing up, and you started to get it. How important is the power of association in your attempt to build these micro empires?
It is the most important thing. I call it getting the right pool. So just imagine, for me, that's a great image, right? So you want to learn something. When I wanted to learn about real estate investing, I didn't know anything about it, but I went and I jumped in the pool of a real estate investor group here in Nashville. And I look at the image in my head is I'm there with my floaties on, and I'm surrounded by Olympic swimmers. But two things will happen. Number one, you will learn, because you have to learn, because you're not gonna survive if you don't learn to be a better swimmer than what you are when you hop in. Number two, they will not let you drown. And that's the truth of people who have mastered something. If you're in the right pool, if you're in the wrong pool, they might let you drown. So when you see something that you want to do, jump in. I'm a doer. I'm not really an investigator or an analyzer, whatever. So when I wanted to when I wanted to start a podcast, I went to Podcast Movement before I'd recorded a minute of audio. I went there first because I knew if I jumped in the pool that I would understand better. The same. So if you're interested in something, get in the pool. You don't have to understand it. Just get in there, put your swimmies on, put your life jacket on, hop in, understand that you're not the smartest or the brightest or the most knowledgeable about this idea. But if you're swimming with all of these folks, you're going to learn, and they will not let you drown.
I love that. And that brings me to my final question. And then I want you to let everybody know how they can really connect with you. Because somebody who just heard you say that, they're dealing with fear. And you talked about a book that you read over 20 years ago called The Gift of Fear. Can you give us a couple insights that you gleaned from that? And I'm big on using fear and not allowing it to paralyze you. What are some of your insights that you took away from that book? Because I heard you say you read it every couple of years or so. So what should our perspective of fear be in this current climate?
So that book is incredible, The Gift of Fear, and it's very different. It's you could argue it's not really related to what I do today, but I think it's relevant in my life every single day. What it taught me is that we are all born with a sixth sense, which is fear, but we are taught to suppress it. So, and especially women, and I think especially in minority groups, because we are conditioned to go, oh, no, they didn't mean that. They're not threatening to me, or I shouldn't, I feel bad if I, think this about somebody. But the idea being, like, your dog, if you have a dog in your house And that one friend comes over all the time. For whatever reason, your dog is never nice to that friend. Probably because your dog senses fear. Your dog doesn't like that person because their gift of fear is alive and well and present every day. But we are taught our entire lives to kind of quiet that noise, quiet that instinct, especially women. So it has profoundly affected me in my own personal well-being. Meaning, if I get that sense in my stomach like something's not right, I just listen to it. It's not always right. It's not always. Sometimes I judge people wrong. Sometimes I, make a mistake. So I've learned to balance that, but I've really learned to listen to it. How it matters as it applies to business and what I do today is if you're going along, and I go through this all the time, I'm going along doing business with somebody, maybe doing investments with them. Maybe I've been doing it for a while. And somewhere along the way, things they say, things they do strike me the wrong way. I put it in my bank and I think about it. But what I don't do is try to stifle it and go, well, he didn't mean that. Or she didn't, that's not what she meant. Maya Angelou, when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time, right?
That's right.
So when someone's actions or words make you feel uncomfortable, you don't have to jump to a judgment at that moment. But I just would encourage people to put that in your piggy bank and really start thinking about, how does that make you feel? Because people change, and things change. And how does that make you feel, as it pertains to this business or this opportunity, et cetera? And it's really hard, Cortez, and you know this because folks who reach out to me, I'm so flattered that they do, and they write into the show and they contact me. And I am fortunate that I am in a position where I can meet with folks and I can tell them I can work with them, and they can either choose to work with me or not. If they choose not to work with me, I'm not, shutting the lights off and I can't survive anymore. You know what I mean? But they're used to being sold to, or they're afraid of being scammed. And so I just encourage people just to really listen to it. I recommend the book highly for personal well-being, but I think it can be applied across the board.
Love it, love it, love it. We got roughly 60 seconds. Jennifer, tell everybody what's the best way to connect with you.
You reach out to me at micro-empires.com. You can find me on all of the socials. You can shoot me an email. I work with people one-on-one doing personal life strategies. That's kind of the overall view. We can do that in short periods of time, and also career strategies, things like that. And then, of course, listen to the show, Micro Empires.
Love it, love it, love it. We've been listening to and learning from I don't know if you coined the micro empires, if that's your thing, but man, it is an amazing thing to even think about every day. We should be working to build these micro empires, because a lot of times we think that we need a gazillion dollars. No, you just have to have the right amount of cash flow to expense ratio. And that's what I consider being wealthy, right? If my cash flow is 10 grand and it costs me 4 grand to live, I'm wealthy, especially if that cash flow is from non-wage sources. So I appreciate you so much, Jennifer, for getting up this morning, come and hang out with me and my tribe. Until we talk to you guys next time, we want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. So hustle up. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.
You're tuned into the Cortez Hustle Show. Please like and subscribe.